Hi there, students. This is Ms. Ruth again, volunteering with the public schools in Oakland, California, just like usual. So today we're going to talk about some things that composers have done to make the music a little more interesting. Because, of course, if we just do nothing but start on the number all the time and go 1 and 2 and, or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, it gets tiresome. I mean, you can imagine that composers would want to do something to mix it up a little bit. So here's a couple of things that they did in this song. They didn't start on 1. Because you see, we're supposed to have 2 counts, and a quarter note is supposed to be worth 1 count, and we're starting with 1/8 note. Okay, that's a problem. So I think we'll just assume that there was a 1 and 2 before, and then we're just starting on the and. Okay? So it's like we started on this note instead of on this note. You see the 1 and 2 and we just started on this one. Okay? So that's one thing that they did. Now here's another thing. We've got 2 16th notes, and we're used to having 4 16th notes, so we could have a huckleberry or a 1-ienda. But we don't have that. We have an 1/8 plus 2 16ths. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pretend that there are 2 16ths inside this. We won't play them. We'll just hang on for 2-ienda. Okay? And we'll play these two like normal, but we will hang on to that one. So you can see all of this illustrated here. There's 1 and 2 and we're starting on the and over here, the leftover from before. And then we got 1 and, and then 2-enda, 2-enda. Or if we want to have a 16th inside, we can say 2-ienda. Okay? So now what would that sound like? Let's find out. Okay, so I'm going to pretend to count the missing parts of this measure over here, and I'm going to come in on the last and. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2-ienda, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. All right, so that's bingo, if you recognize that song. Here's another example of something composers did to mix it up a little bit. So now, instead of having 4 16th notes and a nice huckleberry or a nice 1-ienda, we have a dotted 8th note. See, 1 bar for that 8th note, and then 2 bars for this 16th note. So inside there is 1-ienda, right? Or actually, we're not even starting on the first beat again. Oh, watch out for those. So we are starting on the 3rd count. So we got 1 and 2 and 3-ienda, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3-ienda, 1. Okay? So you see those counts up here. I marked the part that's the dotted 8th note and the part that is the 16th note. Okay? So when I play this, we're going to get a 1 and 2 and for nothing out here if we want to count those, and I'll come in on 3. Okay? 1 and 2 and 3-ienda, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3-ienda, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. And that's how that dotted 8th plus a 16th is working. And one last little trick that a lot of composers have used is not only are they leaving out a few beats at the beginning and starting on some oddball number, but then people realized this, that you don't have to start your quarter note on 1 and, because this is a quarter here also. 2/8 make a quarter, right? So this and 2 is also a quarter note just as much as 1 and was a quarter note. So I start here with an 8th note, 1, and then I've got a quarter note. So that's got to get and 2, because I have to take all this stuff in order. I can't skip anything. So 1 and 2. And then there's an and for that 8th note. The next 8th note gets 3. Then there's another quarter note. Aha! So that's and 4 for that quarter of the pie. And then the last and. Then we got 2 8th notes, 1 and, a quarter note, 2 and. No problem there. Oh, but there's a 3 8th notes. And there's a quarter note that is dotted. So here's a quarter of the pie, and the dot is worth, a dot following a quarter is worth half the quarter, which is another 1/8. So that note with the dot after it is actually worth and, for, and. So when I play that, let's see what that sounds like. I count the stuff that's left over out here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And you may recognize or not recognize that song, but it is a famous song. Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. This is part of the chorus. All right, so that kind of thing, when you start on the and instead of the number, is called syncopation. Good word to remember, because you're going to see a lot of it in your lifetime of music. Okay, bye. Until next time.